Welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered Nonprofit Podcast. I'm Cherry Chen, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey. This podcast dives into the real world of nonprofit leadership, sharing inspiring stories, experiences, and the truth about what it takes to operate a nonprofit successfully. Think of this as your mastermind session on the go. Now, let's get to today's episode. I'm absolutely honored to have Heather Norris as our guest. Heather is a visionary and thought leader, well known for her success in the nonprofit sector. She is the president and CEO of the Ontario Network for Education and has a rich background in healthcare and community impact. I'm excited to dive into our conversation today, where we'll explore Heather's journey, her insights on leadership, and the valuable lessons she's learned along the way. She'll also share with you why she ran 200 laps in front of Parliament Hill November 2023. So without further ado, let's welcome Heather Norris to the Unfiltered Nonprofit Podcast. Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Unfiltered Nonprofit. Today, I have a very special guest here with me, Heather Norris from the Ottawa Network for Education, also known as ONFE. Welcome, Heather.
Hi, Terry. Nice to see you today.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, because I only introduced you as the CEO and Executive Director of Ottawa Network for Education. What do you do? What do you guys do?
So we are an organization that fuels kids and ignites learning every school day. We work in partnership with the 4 public school boards here in Ottawa, and we have a myriad of programs that we offer. Probably most recognized for running the school breakfast program in about 200 schools. Wow. We also have indoor classroom garden towers. We run junior achievement, teaching financial literacy, career readiness, and entrepreneurship. We have a large volunteer and education program. We facilitate the Step for Youth in Schools Community Coalition that has counselors in all of the high schools supporting problematic substance and technology use. So ONFE has actually been around for 40 years, and we are the only organization of our kind that offers the diverse programs that we offer right now to support student well-being and student success.
This sounds crazy. You shared earlier with me some of the numbers that you guys do, and I think it's best that I leave these to you to share. Like how many meals do you deliver on a day, like on a daily basis, or on an annual basis?
For the school breakfast program, pre-COVID, we for many years were serving 13,500 meals every school day. We're now serving upwards of 17,000 meals every school day. So in the past year, coming off of COVID, we're really experiencing this increasing trend. Probably to no surprise to your listeners, but with the economy, with inflation, with the high cost of food, certainly having an impact on families. So we're seeing an increasing trend in the student needs in accessing this program. We're also seeing a trend with new immigrants coming to Ottawa and entering into the school system. That's also a trend that's creating an increase in need as well.
Oh, wow. This is dear and close to my heart, because I have 2 young children that are in school programs too. I always share with them how lucky they are. I don't think they can comprehend, to be honest. But at the same time, I applaud you for doing all these. And I guess before we get into how you run your program successfully, can you tell us a little bit about you and how you end up in this sector? I mean, this is a very important role, and a lot of nonprofit leaders are leading organizations that are providing great impact to the community. And I'm always curious, is it something that you grew up as a little girl when you play with? I assume that you would play with Barbie. I played with Barbie when I was a kid, thinking that that's what you wanted to do.
My trajectory into not-for-profit is definitely not a straight line. Oh. So I actually worked in the healthcare sector, more specifically managed laser eye surgery clinics in Ottawa, Kingston, and Toronto for about the first 12 years. So I was grateful to have a job working at Focus Eye Center here in Ottawa when I was going to Ottawa U to do my undergrad. When I finished university, I actually moved to Kingston to open up the Kingston chapter of Focus Eye Center. I have worked in Toronto. I helped open the Kensington Eye Institute, which was the first independent health facility licensed to provide publicly funded cataract surgery in a private facility. And this was part of the government's waitlist strategy to reduce cataract surgery wait times in Ontario. And I can tell you, it worked. Like 3 to 5 years after that facility was open, the wait lists had come down significantly at that time. So I spent many years in healthcare and specifically in the eye care sector. And then I was following my partner and his jobs around the province, and we landed in Northumberland County, lovely community along the shores of Lake Ontario. And guess what? There were no laser eye surgery clinics there. So it was an opportunity for me to think about embracing something different. And so I had started networking in the community. And there was a local women and children's shelter, Cornerstone Family Violence Prevention Center. And at the time, they were looking to recruit for their first full-time manager of resource development, so fundraising. They were looking for a fundraiser by trade. I was not that, but someone encouraged me to apply for the job. And what we realized in the interview process was that although I wasn't a fundraiser by trade, I had a lot of transferable skills that lend very well to fundraising. So people-oriented, so stakeholder engagement, working with donors and building partnerships. Being highly organized is great for letter campaigns or running events. So we actually realized this could be a great fit with the transferable skills, and it really was a great fit. And that's actually what got me into the not-for-profit sector. That was a springboard for me. It was also incredibly eye-opening to work in a violence against women organization and to have that learning experience and to see women and children coming into a shelter and learning from, the experiences they were having and the needs. I really saw firsthand like the impact that the organization was making. I had an incredible opportunity after that to move to a local hospital foundation and work on a portfolio of major gifts and planned gifts. And at that time, I also applied to and got into the first cohort of students at Carleton University's Master of Philanthropy and Nonprofit Leadership program.
Wow.
So while I worked at the hospital foundation for a couple of years full-time, part-time, I was going to school at night and on the weekends. And when I finished my degree, a great opportunity opened up at the local United Way to become the Director of Community Impact. So I moved there. And then I ended up moving into the CEO role at United Way, and then eventually decided to come back home to Ottawa, where I'm from. My family's here. My parents are getting a little bit older. So then I was just looking for the right opportunity, and I saw the Ottawa Network for Education, and it's been a great fit, but definitely not a straight line in my trajectory by any means.
Well, like you mentioned earlier during our conversation that it wasn't easy to get to your ED role in Ottawa. From your previous fundraising role. Tell us a little bit about that, because I think even for people who are listening, they are not executive director or anybody. And even today, I see a lot of polls online. The parents are asking for help to get their kids employed. They are lost. I mean, I'm an employer as well. You're an employer. You know that majority of us just submit our resume and then hope for the best. You did something completely different.
Yeah, I had to think strategically about coming back to Ottawa. So one of the things I did in terms of wanting to build my capacity to be able to apply and build my confidence to become an executive director or a CEO was actually going back to school and doing that master's degree. That was a stepping stone where I had started to look at getting an MBA or doing some other level of post-secondary to support me in becoming a strong leader. So that's one thing I did. But yes, as you and I discussed, when I was looking to come back to Ottawa, I had started applying for CEO and executive director roles. And I had done a few interviews, but I was never the right candidate in the end. And so I recognized that some of these roles were coming through the same recruitment firm. So I reached out to the recruiter and had a conversation with them. Said, what am I missing? What can I do to move forward? And what they had shared with me is that at the time, I was living in Northumberland County. I was in a director level position. So when I was applying in Ottawa to come back and be a CEO or executive director, I was consistently competing against other applicants who were already EDs or CEOs who were looking for a lateral move. And so they were sort of an inch ahead of me every time. And so I made the strategic decision to stay in Northumberland County. I became the CEO of Northumberland United Way and spent a few years in that role. So then when I decided to come back home to Ottawa, I now was competing on a more equal footing with other CEOs and executive directors. So it was a process, strategic process that I had to undertake to essentially maneuver myself into the role that I was looking for.
I think what people can learn from this particular story is that, one, if you are not getting what you want, you need to find out how. Like, majority of us just sit back and don't know, like, hey, I'm allowed to ask questions and ask for feedback. And I think that is something that's really amazing. You took the initiative and know that you could ask questions and find out the reason, and then step back and say, hey, like, I could be on the equal playing field with them, provided that I become an executive director or CEO at some other organization in my town. That's such a smart move.
I would always encourage people to seek feedback if they're part of a recruitment or interview process. And if they're not the successful candidate, to meet with the recruiter and gather some feedback. Because the other thing that I've recognized is as you move into more senior positions, the recruitment processes are becoming far more robust, right? So, back at that time, I remember having to create, I think, a PowerPoint presentation that I had to do for one of the interviews. Or, it's not uncommon for recruiters to be sending you like questions that they want you to respond to. So going through interview processes, they take time and initiative. And so I think it's always a great opportunity to gather feedback and see what you can learn from the process, even if you're not the most successful candidate. Help build you for success going forward.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's nice to get to know a little bit about your background. And now let's dive deeper into what you have done. What's the moment that in your career that you're most proud of? And it's something that we just talked about, and it's amazing, and I can't wait to share with the world.
Yeah, so personally and professionally, I will say that getting my master's degree, heading into my 40s, that was like a warrior woman moment when I finished that program, and it really helped me succeed into becoming a successful CEO. This past year, I've had an incredible journey with the Ottawa Network for Education. We have done significant advocacy. We partnered with the Coalition for Healthy School Food that has over 450 member agencies across the country. And for 10 years, they've been advocating for a national school food program. So up until now, Canada has been the only G7 country without a national school food program. So in 2019, the federal government indicated in their platform a commitment to initiate this program with $1 billion investment, so $200 million over 5 years. But up until now, they had not allocated any of that funding out. So we joined the coalition. We did a lot of advocacy this past year. And to our great surprise, on April 1st, the federal government announced that they were going to fund a national school food program. But our efforts even included, in November 30th, I joined an edible education teacher, Brent Mansfield from BC, who came to Ottawa and ran 200 laps on the front lawn of Parliament Hill. And I joined him for this. It was really important to raise awareness, to meet with MPs on the lawn of Parliament who wanted to come and chat with us. But more importantly, we were delivering to them over 1,000 handwritten letters from students students across the country who were advocating for the need and support of a national school food program. So this announcement, April 1st, is an incredible milestone, I would say a historic milestone for Canada, but also for ONFE, as we get to be a part of embracing this opportunity to see what we can do to increase our ability to provide food security within the schools. We're anxiously awaiting the results to see what funding is going to come and what the requirements will be with that. But we're really keen to be working with government, our education partners, families, and communities to, establish a program that makes sense for our families and students here in Ottawa.
Well, that is amazing. I think the biggest learning lesson is for people who are doing advocacy work, you cannot just use you can, but I mean, it is a little bit a far stretch, but I would say you need to do something different to raise that awareness. I think they have, just like politicians and the government are just like us, and imagine we're running the daily chores that we're running. We're so busy focusing on all these priorities. And if you don't make it as a priority to these people, you don't make it blatantly clear that this is a priority, we're advocating for it, it is always in front of you, we won't give up until you do something about it, they are not going to pay attention. So it took me a while to digest if you were running laps when you talk run laps.
I did physically run laps, and it was a very windy, chilly morning, but I was really happy to be there. And it's an interesting point you mentioned about advocacy and in the not-for-profit and the charitable sector. Historically, charities were relatively risk-averse because in your reporting with CRA, you have to identify whether or not you're doing sort of the advocacy work. And, so I'm grateful with ONFE, like I have a board and an organization that supports us doing this work, because the reality is that for charities, every service that we're providing supports an issue that we can be advocating for. And so charities can and are able to advocate. You do have to be mindful of advocacy versus lobbying. And when you're doing so much that, you need to register as a lobbyist. But charities, they do have the ability, or you need to be a voice for, the families and the communities and the students that we serve. That's a role that we play. And I would say we've done that more significantly this past year than probably in previous years.
So how long did it take you to run that 200 laps?
Oh, we were there for half a day, good half a day. Yeah, we started in the morning, and I think we finished in early afternoon.
Wow.
I think we started at around 8, probably ran until about 2. There were some media interviews and stuff in between, so it wasn't a complete constant running of the laps. We were grateful. We had students from Immaculata High School who joined us. Their track team came and joined us in running some laps. So, and hopefully that helped raise some awareness.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Because you guys, otherwise this November, you're going to go back and do another laps. Hopefully we don't have to do that. Yeah. So this is fantastic. And I know that you are, your organization, how big is your organization? How many staff members do you have?
We are usually around about 21 to 23 staff.
Yeah. So with that 21 to 23 staff, just like any other nonprofit, during COVID, mine the same way too. My office is the same way. During COVID, I'm sure you have to shut down the office. There is no choice. And you have to transition essentially from a physical office to a complete virtual office. And then now, what's happening with now?
Yeah, so like most, we did that rapid maneuver to rapid remote work. Yep. And thank goodness we were able to do that relatively successfully, because we had already moved to Microsoft Teams, which helps enable you to work remote and do hybrid work. We did quite a bit of engagement with our ONFE staff team and leadership team in terms of what our return to work would look like. Managing through COVID, and coming off of COVID was really interesting for me as a leader of a smaller organization, because not being, a large private sector that has a department that was drafting and creating safety protocols and policies, I had to take on that work and build my expertise in building like return to office plans and implementing safety protocols. And it was a significant portion of work, and it was critically important, that we had the safety protocols in place if people needed to be in the office during COVID or as they came back from COVID. So we approached our return to hybrid work with a lot of engagement with the staff team and leadership team. And we actually created like a 5-stage return to office so that it was sort of a stepping stone where we could start coming back, sort of test it, gather feedback, see if we needed to, change anything, evaluate and make change, and then move on to the next stage. So we're at the point now where we are a hybrid office. So team members come in 2 days a week, or at minimum 2 days a week, and we have a booking tool so they could book their space. So one of the things that shifted for ONFE during COVID is we used to have twice the amount of office space because we had an office split on 2 floors. And by virtue of COVID, when everything went remote and our lease came up for renewal, we released a space, one of our office spaces. So that reduced our footprint. And so we naturally moved into like a co-working environment. So our team members have the ability to book the space that they want. Do they want an open cubicle space? Do they need an office space? Do they need a meeting room? Do they need boardroom space? So we've gotten a little more sort of tactical in terms of booking. And, we continue to reassess. So we're actually just having conversations right now and doing some strategic work with the team to see if, are we at a sweet spot right now, or do we need to make any changes. So gathering feedback, engaging the team has been really important and critical really in helping us like move through and bring the team along. I personally find managing through hybrid work environment quite challenging. So I'm typically in the office 5 days a week, and I have been there since we've come off of COVID. And, obviously we couldn't just leave an office space empty during COVID. So I was, sort of in and out of there during that time. So it's not easy for me because my work ethic is sort of get up and go to work and leave work at the end of the day, leave work there, and come home. But I completely understand and appreciate the feedback that we get from team members and the benefits of having the option to do hybrid work. Another thing that's interesting for me is I'm not sure that hybrid work is a one-size-fits-all approach for everybody. So even when we talk about and we have staff, coming in ideally 2 days a week, there are people who like to come in more, and they can and they will come in more. But there are other people who want to come in less, or there are staff members who, by virtue of the job that they do, requires them to be out in the schools. So they're out on the road, and so not necessarily a great fit for them to be, sitting in the office working there a couple days a week. So there's a lot to continue thinking about, because I think, we continue to look at and think about what work should be done or could best be done in person in the office, which is more of the collaborative work as opposed to, sitting on virtual meetings if you're going to be sitting in your co-working space.
Hello, Unfiltered Nonprofit listeners. It's Cherry Chen here, your host and the CEO of Otis Financial Solutions. Let's talk about something that can be a major headache for many nonprofits: managing your finances. Are you feeling overwhelmed by budgeting, financial reports, or keeping up with compliance? You're not alone. Many nonprofit leaders struggle with these issues too, but you don't have to. At Otis Financial Solutions, we specialize in making financial management easy for nonprofit leaders and associations leaders. For over 18 years, we've been turning financial stress into peace of mind. Our services are designed to meet your unique needs, from day-to-day bookkeeping to strategic financial planning. Imagine having more time to focus on your mission, knowing that your finances are in experts' hands. If that sounds like something you need, I'm offering a no-obligation 20-minute consultation. Let's discuss your challenges and explore how Otis can help you achieve your goals. Visit nonprofitcfo.ca to book your call today. Let's simplify your financial management together. How do you maintain that culture or like the team environment? I know you do have a lot, sounds like you do have a few staff that would work at different school programs and delivering all these programs. And so it's not always easy to begin with because you have a portion of the staff that's by virtue, it's not going to be in the office no matter what, whether it is hybrid environment or virtual environment. So right now, how are you maintaining that culture and teamwork environment or creating that collaboration among the team members?
Our culture was something that definitely had chinks in its armor during COVID. And I think like a lot of people, when everything went remote and the social activities got, disconnected, it as we know, was an incredibly difficult time for everybody. And it's been an investment of work to be rebuilding not only the culture of ONFE, but building a culture of collaboration in a hybrid work environment. So how do we do that? There's a myriad of ways. So we do have a social committee. So we've now gotten back to having sort of social events and activities, or we do great potluck lunches and having some fun with staff. We do look for opportunities where we can get together externally as a team. So, for example, I'm a big supporter of building capacity as an organization, but individually and across teams. So every year we try to build out our professional development training calendar for the team. So for all ONFE, maybe it's things on equity, diversity, and inclusion, or Indigenous learning, or a wellness strategies or initiatives that the team identifies. And we engage the staff team to get feedback on what do you want to learn or embrace next as an organization. And actually, we used to have these different training parceled out throughout the year. But one thing we tested this year and it seemed to be quite successful is in the fall, we actually booked one full day offsite and did a staff retreat, and we did a full training day. So instead of parceling time out and being somewhat disruptive for some people's schedules and calendars, we booked one full day in person where we brought in facilitators to do, some EDI training, a wellness initiative. We worked on performance management and SMART goal setting and training. And so that seemed to be quite successful. In terms of building our community of collaboration, so ONFE, with the different programs that we offer, the programs all grew organically at their own time and place, which created a sense of siloing. They have their own program teams, their own technologies that they use. And so we're investing more in building that culture of collaboration. And so we're now implementing Asana. We're learning about Asana across the organization, doing lots of training and teaching and bringing all the staff along to use it as a project management tool that really enables us to collaborate across the entire organization and to keep everybody informed on the initiatives that we're working on. And so far that's going quite well. But for people who have used Asana, it's a pretty robust tool. So we're taking our time. We've got champions identified in the organization, and we do biweekly tips and tricks, and have info sessions for the staff and training modules that we share out. So it's a very strategic approach, but it seems to be a great tool that can help us increase our collaboration and really build some efficiencies and how we communicate across the organization, particularly in a hybrid environment.
That sounds like a lot of initiatives being built to improve the communication and enhance the culture. I really like the social committee idea and also your professional development idea, because I don't think a lot of organizations are investing a lot of the time for like an all-day training just for the entire team. So I think that alone, being physically together really helps.
Yeah, and we always try to do, when we can get off site and we're doing like a staff retreat and even training, we always try to build in some fun, right? Some team building and some fun, so it's not, super intense training. Try to make it fun along the way.
Absolutely. So I know you're a busy lady, and your most proud of moment was like you handle, like you work full-time job at the hospital foundation doing fundraising, and then at nighttime, you also do school part-time, a master program, and it's not an easy program. So I know that you're already a woman warrior. I just wanted to ask you, though, how do you maintain your mental health through this difficult, challenging time? Because COVID wasn't easy for a lot of people, and now you have to also manage so many different programs, and you're running 200 laps in front of the parliament. You're raising awareness. Like, how do you manage to do all these while still maintaining a sense of sanity or peace of mind? How do you do that?
Probably a part of it is good time management, and I'm highly organized. And the other piece, I guess, for me is having activities outside of work that I enjoy. So things like running and golfing and traveling. So I'm a runner. I run outside all year.
Yeah.
I try to run 3 or 4 times a week. And as much as, we all have busy, long days, it would be rare for me to overwork on a day and not get out for a run. So it's an important part of how I schedule my time. I'm somebody who I prefer to get up early and come into the office and start my day early so that I can try to get out at a decent time. That enables me to get home and get in a run or 9 holes of golf. Certainly with golf, sometimes you can connect the work and the hobby. Occasionally I'll play in a golf tournament. That's a fundraiser for ONFE, so I can sort of combine the two passions. I would say another big thing for me is how I manage my cell phone use. So I'm not somebody, I put my cell phone away at night. I silence it. It stays in a different room than where I sleep. So I'm not somebody who likes to listen to or have like the phone going off. And I'm grateful because I'm a really good sleeper. So I like to get a good sleep, get up early to get my work day done, and then enjoy my run or my golf in the evenings.
Wow. So how early do you wake up?
Oh, I probably get up around 6.
And then you go to work around?
I'm usually in the office at probably around 7:45. Yeah. And put in my work day, so I'll be getting home by 5, and then if I end up working a little bit later, it's still within reason if I'm getting home by 6 and I can still get a run or 9 holes in.
That's crazy. That's like my dream life. All I want is like get into the office a little bit earlier and then get home and do my 9 hole.
Yeah, I mean it's not always easy with our time management, particularly so because I'm somebody who likes to come in early.
Yeah.
What that does is it enables me to get a suite of work done before other team members or people who are online, or it allows me to come in and get through my email.
Yep.
Right. But then it also means I have to manage time at the end of the day because most people start a little bit later and work a little bit later. So I have to manage that piece. That had to be more strategic during COVID.
Yep.
I think people will recall during COVID, particularly team members who had young kids at home who were going to school and needed that support during the day. And we had staff sort of flexing their work hours to start really early in the morning or after kids went to bed at night, which meant that my work time was really being stretched. But again, by some of the activities that I do, like running, it was great during COVID when you were allowed to sort of get back outside and slowly get back to your social networks where you could run socially distanced, or golf when they wouldn't let you sit in a cart with somebody. But at least there are outdoor activities that actually were helpful in maintaining my balance, even during COVID.
Wow. That's great tips. What I learned here is that, hey, get up early, get the stuff, get in a couple of hours of deep work before the chaos hits, and then you will have time to have some alone time and do something outside of work. Don't focus everything on work. Otherwise, it won't work. I'm trying to repeat this for myself. I'm trying to teach myself the same lesson, and hopefully it stays and I remember and I'll implement what you're telling me. I do wake up early. I do start up work early. What I find really challenging for me is that I am unable to peel myself away from the work, and I keep trying to do more. And it's so important to have that after work activity to bring your sanity back.
Absolutely. It's great to have an activity where you can step away from work and it helps you sort of wind down and getting some exercise. Without a doubt, it helps me sleep better at night. So there are a lot of benefits to having that activity. I mean, I think for some people too, I've heard that even from coming into the office for hybrid or coming into the office for in-office work, some people appreciate having the drive home before and after because it gives them that time to sort of decompress outside of work. So again, you don't get that when you're working from home all day, every day. That sort of deep disconnection from your workspace to your home space.
Well, it's extra important for leaders, nonprofit or even for profit leaders, when there's so much on our shoulders. It's extra important to maintain our mental health. We don't talk about that enough. So thank you so much for your tips, and it's great. So last question, EDI. This is a huge topic among a lot of nonprofit leaders these days, and there is a lot of confusion and questions being asked. And what's your take on it? What did ONFE do? What have ONFE done so far to bring this awareness and incorporate this into the programs or into your staff members?
Yeah, thanks for that question. EDI and our Indigenous Journey, really important for our organization, for our team members, but also to be sort of incorporating this lens into our policies, our culture, and into the programs that we run within the organization. It was really interesting for me as a leader a few years ago when we started talking more about equity, diversity, inclusion, and Indigenous learning and training. And for me, I started by trying to look for partners in this space because I'm not someone who likes to recreate the wheel if I don't need to. And I felt like most organizations would be at some point on this journey. So I started off with reaching out to other not-for-profits, to talking to other foundations, even the city of Ottawa, to see if we could collaborate and collectively create some material that could be co-shared, recognizing that organizations have some independent work that might be specific to them to undertake. And it was really difficult for me to find, really challenging to try to find a partner in that space. What I learned, so there are a number of organizations who have people within their organization who had that expertise, or organizations that have financial capacity where they've been able to recruit like EDI managers or leaders into their organization. But again, a lot of not-for-profits and charities are not in that space where you can suddenly just financially add another resource to manage EDI. So we ended up looking for a consultant, a facilitator who specialized in the space, and we found a fantastic consultant who used to be in Ottawa. They're now out of Toronto. They were a lawyer by trade, and now they specialize in EDI. And what really resonated with me in working with this consultant is I found somebody who's working with ONFE and we're co-creating our strategy together. So we actually started by having them a couple years ago throughout the summer. They did an entire policy review and helped us update all of our policies with an EDI lens. And then when all the staff were back from the summer, we started incorporating each year, incorporate some education and training on EDI or accessibility, accommodation. This past year, we were creating an EDI statement that will soon be publishing. Now, this year, we're just coming off of, actually, we're just getting ready to implement a survey across our staff team and our volunteers to actually assess our EDI to get us a sense of where we're at and be able to come up with some recommendations on where we need to go next and what we can improve on. So for me, in terms of EDI and Indigenous training, it's more like a journey that we're on on. And so I think it's important that, you find somebody who can work with your organization, as we have, that can help us sort of co-create in a way that makes sense and is meaningful for the work we're doing with ONFE. Also recognizing that for us, we partner with the 4 public school boards. The school boards also have expertise in that area. We need to make sure that the work that we're doing with them and the programs that we're executing are aligned with their in EDI and Indigenous learning and training as well.
It doesn't sound like it's as simple as really adopting someone's policy, though.
No, it certainly wasn't. It wasn't for us, and I don't think it is just as simple as adopting. I do think, though, that there are opportunities. Like if organizations are looking to do training, we could be offering training in a collaborative way. Have multiple organizations work together to do things like group training initiatives. There's certainly some of the work that and some of the documentation that probably can be shared, and then you need to be looking for those intricacies within the specific work that organizations do that might need a more specific or strategic EDI lens to that work.
Well, be careful what you said here, because we may have people reaching out to you. Can you share your policy with us?
I'm happy to be a resource.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So we've covered a lot today, and thank you so much for coming on to share your insights and your learning and your challenges and the huge advocacy and the crazy 200 laps run with us. And that's a fantastic story. And really appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. As we wrap up, I want to share a bit more about what we do at Otis Financial Solutions. For the past 18 years, Otis Financial Solutions has been dedicated to enhancing the financial management and strategic planning capabilities of hundreds of associations and nonprofits across Canada. Our extensive experience has enabled us to deliver tailored financial solutions that drive growth and enhance sustainability for nonprofits and associations. If you are interested in learning more about how Otis Financial Solutions can support your organization, I would love to offer you a no-obligation 20-minute call. Let's discuss your unique challenges and explore how we would be able to help you achieve your goals.